another episode of Comics Review. I'm your host, Kevin Starkey. The first comic I'm going to talk about today is The Mission. This is issue number 1. It's from Image Comics. And this one was on my radar and I picked it up. And the premise of it sounded interesting. It's about a guy who... Well, let me just tell you what the comic is. It starts out the guy's in a doctor's office getting a checkup. And the doctor says, yeah, everything's cool. And the guy walks out, goes to the garage, and this old guy walks up to him with a lantern, very strange, and knows his name, and tells him that there's a battle going on between good and evil, and that there's a job for this guy to do, and he needs to go kill this guy, and he gives him an envelope, and the guy's like, this guy's a nut. He goes home to his wife. He tells his wife he met some weirdo, and she's like, what did he want? And he doesn't tell her. He sort of holds that back. The guy gave him an envelope with the information about who it is and what he's supposed to do, and he has like 48 hours to do it. So the guy sort of just thinks this is just crazy, and he's at lunch the next day. The guy shows up again, same guy, telling him, this is real. I'm not joking around here. You have X number of hours left. You need to hurry up and do this. He's like, oh yeah, go ahead and answer your phone. And the guy's like, my phone's not ringing. Then his phone rings. So the guy starts thinking, maybe this guy knows what he's talking about. The phone call is from his doctor and says, you have cancer. There's something wrong with you. You need to come back in. We need to do some more tests. And the guy starts like, oh yeah, this is real. I probably need to do whatever this guy's telling me to do. He's still sort of wondering about it. He ends up looking for the guy, finding the guy, trying to understand who this guy is. Is he worth killing? And it sort of takes a little twist at the end where you're like, oh, wow. You think he might do it, and he doesn't do it. And then you realize he should have done it, because this guy does something kind of bad. But for a while there, you thought maybe this guy, he's got a kid, maybe he's a nice guy. Definitely pick this one up. This is a really cool comic. The writer on this is John Hober and Eric Hover. And there's an artist on here, Werther Del Edera, and Ariana Florine is the color artist. Excellent comic. I don't know if this is going to be a mini-series kind of a thing, or if it's going to be ongoing. I'm not sure about that yet, but definitely pick that up. It's from Image Comics. The next comic I want to talk about is Turf. This is number 4 of 5. It's from Image. And it's been like 6 months at least, I think, since issue number 3 was out. This is by Jonathan Ross and Tommy Lee Edwards. It's a very strange comic. It takes place during Prohibition times. And there's these people who are like vampires. They're called Strigeli or something like that. It's a very weird word. They're basically like a mob family, but they're a lot like vampires. And they're killing off these mobsters. This one guy named Eddie, who's a head of one of the mob families or whatever, he gets in an accident, he's dying, and this alien creature is there. Saves his life. They sort of become buddies and team up with each other. And he goes around trying to, Eddie and this alien, the alien's name is like Squirm or Squeed. They go around to other gangsters and try to get them to team up, because these vampire type people are wiping out all the gangsters. So they want to fight these vampire people. And there's this girl who's a reporter, and she gets involved with one of the vampire guys. There's these 2 brothers who are sort of fighting to sort of be the leaders of the vampire people. And Strigeli or something like that is what they're not vampires, but whatever. I'm just going to keep calling them vampires. So these 2 brothers are fighting, and they want to run this vampire family or whatever, clan. And then you find out, well, one of them's kind of bad and one of them's kind of good, and they don't want to fight the humans. One of them doesn't want to fight the humans. The other one thinks they should. Then there's like older vampires that are there, and they're sort of pulling the strings on the one brother, and they're probably just gonna wipe him out afterwards. And these two brothers find out that they're well, one of them seems to have known it, and the other one didn't. But that their mother was a human. She wasn't one of these. I guess apparently these type of vampires can breed. What they'll do is they'll turn someone, and then they'll breed with that person that they've turned into one of them. But apparently their father didn't do that. He bred with a human, and their mother was human. And some of these other older vampires, or whatever they are, know about that. And I think they're just using this one brother to until apparently there's this old vampire that's been asleep or whatever. There's some prophecy that he's going to be reawakened, and they're waiting for that time. And I think they're just using this one guy to get to that point, and then they're just going to try to get rid of him or whatever. But so the good brother is trying to turn his brother around to his way of thinking, that they need to just, they feed off of blood and all this kind of thing, and they don't want to wipe out all the humans. And it's a deep comic, even though it's only on issue number 4 and there's only one left. I'm not sure how they're going to wrap this up. I'm guessing, though, the two brothers will, team up to take control of these vampires and tame them or whatever. But definitely a cool series. I hope that it's not another 6 months for the final issue to come out, but cool artwork. It's a lot of gangster type stuff, and here's some art from it, and I'll show you some other stuff. It's cool. I like this comic. Definitely disappointed that you have to wait so long for the new one to come out, but it's kind of worth it. It's a pretty neat story. The next comic I'm going to talk about, this is American Vampire, number 12. It's by Vertigo. This one is Strange Frontier is the sort of subtitle, I guess, of this one. And the main character in this one is Sweet, and he is he's just traveling. He ends up in Idaho, I think, and it's 1919, and he's watching some guys putting on an Old West show, and they talk about him. He's a vampire, an American vampire, and he knows the guy that's putting on the show. He's Frenchy, and he doesn't like the guy, and the people that he's talking about are not really heroes that should be talked about. And there's a girl in the show who Sweets had a relationship with in the past, and Frenchie reveals that this lady, Kitty, was the nickname that he calls her, I guess, that she had told the authorities about Sweets and turned him in. And so Sweets is like, well, I'm going to infiltrate this group, because there's a guy that dresses up like Sweets, pretends to be him, and so Sweets kills this guy, takes his place, comes out during the show, and it shocks everybody, and he basically turns them all against each other, and they kill Frenchie, and then they start fighting each other, because one of them's an Indian guy, and one of them's like this cowboy, and supposedly the cowboy had wiped out a bunch of the Indians, people or whatever, and Sweets tells him, oh, I've filled your guns with real bullets. So then they start fighting each other, and Sweets goes off to see his old flame, basically, and confront her about, why did you try to turn me in? And he explains to her that she explains to him that she did it because she knew they were gonna get wiped out, and she wanted them to all go out together in this blaze of glory kind of a thing. And she basically changes his mind. I think he goes there thinking he's gonna kill her, and he realizes she cared about him, and he just sort of leaves it at that, and he walks away from it, and he finds this guy that has an airplane, and I guess airplanes are new back then, and the guy's like, well, if you've got some money, I'll give you a ride anywhere you want to go. And he's like, well, let's go to California. I hear there's a lot of nice, pretty girls out there. So it ends with that. So I guess the next issue, it'll take place in California. So that's going to be interesting, because it started out there, or at least kind of ended up there. But definitely a cool series. This was my favorite series from last year. Scott Snyder's the writer on this, and this is Daniel Zezoli. I guess is how you pronounce that, is the artist on this now. Used to be Raphael Albuquerque, but the new artist on here, good work. I'm really enjoying it. Definitely does a good job. Same kind of coloring and stuff like that from the previous issues. Definitely pick that one up. It's a great series. Can't recommend it enough. The last comic I'm going to talk about, this is The Sixth Gun from Oni Press. This is issue number 9. And this is by Cullen Bunn and Brian Hurt. And I've reviewed this one a number of times. There's these 6 guns, and they have like sort of magical, mystical, supernatural powers to them. The girl in here, she has one of the guns. Her name's Becky. And then there's Drake, who has 4 of the guns. And they have this other guy with them, Gord. And he's just sort of, their friend, and he's helping them out with stuff. And Becky ends up, in the last issue, I think it was, she meets up with this guy, Kirby, and they sort of have a romantic relationship. And he seems like a nice guy, he seems like he's her friend and stuff. And in this issue, you find out he's interested in the guns for himself. So, there's these supernatural people in here, sort of creepy looking, live in the swamp, and I think they're interested in the guns too. And they send some creatures after animals and stuff after the Drake and Becky, and so they end up having to fight these things. And it's not the greatest comic in the world, but it's a lot of fun. It's a Western, and there's these guns in here. Not a whole lot happened in this issue. Basically, just it was revealed that this guy is sort of a scumbag, and he's trying to hypnotize Becky to get her to tell him where. See, Drake hid his guns. He doesn't really want those guns, so he hid them somewhere, and this guy's Kirby's trying to find out where they are so he can go get them for himself. Cool comic. Not the greatest in the world, but it's kind of cool. And let me just go through real quick the other stuff I picked up this week. Here's Term Life. This is by Image. It's a graphic novel, trade paperback. Let me read you the back real quick. Everyone Nick knows wants him dead. Mob bosses, contract killers, dirty cops. So, performing the last act of a desperate man, Nick takes out $1 million insurance policy on himself, payable to his estranged daughter. Problem? The policy doesn't take effect for 21 days. And as bad as that is, it doesn't come close to the wrath of a 13-year-old girl meeting her father for the first time, as he's forced to keep them both alive. 21 days? Nick knows if they do everything right and God himself did him a favor, they'll be lucky to be alive for 21 hours. Sounds kind of cool, neat premise. Artwork in here looks pretty cool. It's nothing, knock your socks off, but pretty cool. I'm looking forward to reading that. I haven't checked it out yet. Here's Star Trek Infestation number 2 of 2. This is by IDW. I read the first one. It's kind of cool. I haven't checked this one out yet, but wanted to finish that up and see where that was going. Sticks and Stone. This is a new comic from Blue Water Comics. This is number 2. I haven't read it yet. I haven't read number 1 yet. It was on my list to look out for, and my comic shop didn't have it a month ago. I saw they had number 2 this month, and I grabbed it, and I said, can you try to get me number 1? So I'm going to wait and see if they can get me number 1. It seemed kind of neat. Artwork's nothing amazing, but looks pretty cool. I'll let you know later, maybe, if that's any good. Star Wars number 2. This is Darth Vader and the Lost Command. This is by Dark Horse. That's a neat series. RPM number 3 by 12 Gauge. That's cool. That's a pretty neat story. Here's Echoes number 3 from Minotaur. Yeah, Minotaur. And Skull Kickers number 6 from Image Comics. That's a cool series. A lot of Image Comics this week. Morning Glories number 7. Yeah, I like that series. That's pretty cool. And The Walking Dead Weekly again, number 8 by Image. And that's it for this week. Please leave a comment here on YouTube or over on my blog at twodognight.net. Let me know what you're reading this week. Have you read any of the stuff I talked about? And I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.